Go Gadget. I'm Joe Kurtenbach. This is Lock, Stock, and Barrel. Is that too obvious? If you spent any time at all in a Glock-related internet forum over the last few years, you've probably heard of a striker control device from Tau Development Group, which is also popularly called the Gadget. So what is it? Basically, it's a backplate replacement device designed to make a striker-fired pistol like the Glock safer, especially when reholstering. Now, why is such a thing even needed? Well, we'd like to think that everyone practices perfect safety procedures and great gun handling, but the fact is that there are stories every year of people accidentally ripping around through their holster or, God forbid, themselves while they are reholstering the firearm. How does that happen? Usually, there is an obstruction in the holster unseen by the shooter as they make that reholstering move. Now, this might be a bit of jacket or a bit of shirt, especially if they're carrying in the appendix area, or it could be a piece of brass that may have hopped in there during the course of fire. It doesn't really matter. The fact is that if you engage this trigger unseen, there is nothing to stop this gun from firing. And so things happen, accidents happen. This is a device. It doesn't replace safety and good gun handling, but it does make the firearm safer. So how does it do it? This is not a safety per se. First, it's actually an indicator. You can see that the back plate lays flat, but as the trigger is pulled, the trigger bar engages the striker engages the Gadget, the striker control device, and you can see an indication there's pressure, rearward pressure, that makes that back plate flip out. Now, of course, it drops back down after the firing cycle. But one thing a user can do is if they are holstering, they can train themselves to put pressure on that back plate, and then this finger will simulate an obstruction or an object. If pressure is applied to the trigger, I can feel that in my thumb, I can resist it, and I know, hey, something's not right, I need to check and clear that holster before I try and push this gun down on it. So in that moment, when I feel pressure against the thumb, or if I were to observe the striker control device flipping rearward, I could then change it from being an indicator to being a manual safety by applying pressure. That will block the striker, which will resist the trigger bar, which will cause the trigger to not be able to move rearward. Now again, this is not a replacement for following the safety rules of gun handling or for performing good, smart gun handling, but it is an extra insurance device, essentially an indicator that can be used then as a safety to ensure that you're not going to have an accidental discharge, especially during reholstering. One thing you may be asking is, does this affect the performance of the firearm? In my experience, no. I now have over 600 rounds through this firearm with the striker control device installed, but the guys who developed it and a lot of the testers out there, the guys you might hear from in those internet forums, there have been hundreds of thousands of rounds shot through Glocks equipped with the Gadget. So I think it's safe to say at this point that there is no problem in terms of functioning. Very smart design, a little bit of added protection for this striker-fired pistol. And as far as I can see, there's really no downside, especially for those guys who want to practice appendix carry, where you are reholstering in, let's just say, a sensitive area. If you want to get your hands on one of the striker control devices, one of the Gadgets, you can go to taudevgroup.com to stay up to date on the latest guns and gear. Stay tuned at AmericanRifleman.org.